Welcome back to the studio. Today we're going to be finishing up our bear and trestle table build, and we're going to be showing you how we like to apply gel stain to some of our harder woods. Now we have a soft maple and a rubber wood here. Obviously this process can vary depending on the products you use as well as your project materials. We always encourage you to test out products before making a final decision for your project. So we just want to give you some ideas for ways you can apply gel stain to your project and give you some tips and tricks along the way. So stay tuned and we'll be right back. All right, so let's first go over some of the products we're going to be using today. Like I said, we've got the General Finishes gel stain. Color on this that we're going to be using today is brown mahogany. Now, we're also going to be sanding up to 220 on the high touch surfaces. So we're going to go ahead and just take this top and the bench top up to 220 just to get it smoothed out a little bit more. To apply our stain, we're going to be using just these regular painter's rags. You can get a big pack of these for not a lot of money at your local hardware store. You can use brushes, but for gel stain, I like using rags just because it can be messy and it's a little easier to deal with. So let's go ahead and move into sanding. I'm going to clear everything off and just knock these tops down to 220 grit, and then we'll move on and show you how to apply your finish. Now, when we're sanding, we want to make sure we're going in even, smooth motions. So I just kind of like to mentally cut quarters into my top, especially with a bigger one like this, so I know that where I'm going. We're just going to do one pass on this, I think. It's already a pretty smooth finish. So let's go ahead and take this down to 220 and we'll move on. So when talking about applying your finish, there are two things you want to look at. First, you want to look at what type of wood you're going to be finishing. We like General Finishes just because it's always worked well for us, and we like the color options that they have available. Now, you also want to look at what the application of your project is. If it's a higher touch surface like a dining table, you may want to use a clear coat over top of that just to give it a little bit more protection for years to come. We're not going to do a clear coat on this table just yet, but that is an option as well. So let's go ahead and jump into applying our stain. I'm just going to work in small sections. Now, I like to put gel stain on and let it sit for just a minute and then come back and wipe it off with a clean rag. You don't want to do too much at one time because if you leave a section with too much stain on it, it's going to get sticky and tacky and be really hard to take off. So I like to just work at one small section at a time. I'll let it sit for just a minute and then come back and buff it off with a clean rag. So let's go and do that now. You can see that's giving me a really nice color on that soft maple there. And it's not blotchy, and you'll see that better as we come back and buff it off. But just a really nice brown on that soft maple, and it's super easy to apply. So I'm gonna let this sit for just a minute, and then we'll come back and buff it off with a clean one. So now that this is sat for just a second, kind of buff it off. And you can see it's getting a lot of that excess stain off that we don't want to hang back because it's just gonna tack up and get really sticky, be really hard to remove. So yeah, that looks great. You can see just a really nice warm color on that soft maple, and it penetrated really well without being blotchy at all. So. Now in terms of our pedestals, these are rubber wood, so it's a different material than our top is. This can sometimes lead to problems with color consistencies. We recommend trying out some test pieces of different materials if you're gonna be mixing different types of wood. So we tested rubber wood just to make sure it would match up with soft maple pretty well. And we like the results that we got. So I'm gonna keep moving here and just ensure I'm getting even coverage over everything. Once we let this dry for a few hours, we'll be finished up. All right, so as we're finishing up, I'm just taking a drier rag. It doesn't have to be perfectly clean as long as it hasn't been used with other stains. And you can see here, just a nice even finish over all of those panels there. And once you're done buffing, you can let it dry, whatever the recommended time on the product you're using is. Then you're ready to move your piece to your space. All right, that's gonna wrap it up for this video. I hope you found this helpful as you go to finish your projects. As always, if you're interested in any of the parts that we used in this build, I'll leave links in the descriptions for those. You can also find the previous two videos in this series where we built this table and installed the V-stabilizer bars underneath. Be sure to like, subscribe, and comment, and be on the lookout for future videos, and we'll see you next time in the Builder Studio.